He did a version of Stairway that had a choir and an orchestra, and then after the guitar, well, it was with the. Obviously, in the past, the numbers that we did, we'd work from the beginning, you know, the initial creation of the ideas.
In the shadowy corners of rock and roll, history lurked a guitar god with standards as high as his amplifier stacks. Music. Jimmy Page, the mystical mastermind behind Led Zeppelin's thunderous sound, wasn't just a revolutionary guitarist who transformed blues into heavy metal magic. He was also a man who harbored some serious grudges against his musical peers. Learning a lot. I was fascinated by, as much as playing guitar, is how things were recorded, and I learned a lot. Welcome to another episode of Rock Rivalries Uncovered, where today we're exploring the dark side of Jimmy Page and the 6 guitarists who reportedly earned his legendary contempt. The London-born architect of classics like Whole Lot of Love and Black Dog was known for his perfectionist nature, a nature that apparently clashed with quite a few famous fretboard warriors. There are guitarists who play, and there are guitarists who understand. Page allegedly told a music journalist in 1975. Most fall into the first category, unfortunately, and for Page, several big names apparently fell way short of his impossible standards. From alleged studio confrontations to whispered put-downs in music industry circles, Page's relationships with these artists reveal not just personal tensions, but deeper conflicts about guitar technique, musical integrity, and rock and roll credibility. Some of these feuds were public knowledge. Others were kept behind closed recording studio doors, but all of them shaped the competitive landscape of rock guitar. So turn up your Marshall stacks, and let's count down the 6 guitarists that reportedly made Jimmy Page's blood boil. The names might shock you, and the stories behind them will definitely blow your mind. 6. Ritchie Blackmore. Coming in at number 6 on our countdown is a name that might surprise you. Ritchie Blackmore. Yes, the theatrical, Deep Purple, and Ra. Inbow guitarist with the medieval obsession reportedly earned Jimmy Page's bitter resentment, despite or perhaps because of their shared role in creating hard rock. The rivalry reportedly began in the early 1970s, when both guitarists were being hailed as pioneers of heavy music. It is strange how we all come from the similar area, and like I said, with Jimmy Page, he was in the same. According to rock journalist Jeff Barton, Page allegedly told session musicians at Olympic Studios, "Blackmore thinks every song needs a bloody sword fight. The man confuses volume with passion." What bothered Page wasn't just Blackmore's playing, but his approach to performance. While Page crafted mystical atmospheres and dynamic song structures, Blackmore was finding success with what Page reportedly called Renaissance fair nonsense. Theatrical performances that, in Page's view, prioritized spectacle over substance. There's guitarists who serve the song, and they're guitarists who make the song serve them. Page reportedly told a German music magazine in 1975 without naming names. But studio insiders claimed the comment was aimed directly at Blackmore's showmanship. The two rarely crossed paths publicly, but at a London recording session in 1974, witnesses claimed Page deliberately walked out when Blackmore arrived, allegedly muttering to his roadie, "I don't have time for costume parties." Blackmore seemed oblivious to Page's disdain, later praising Led Zeppelin's technical prowess in interviews. "We played with a band called Neil Christian and Crusaders. who I played with later, and Jimmy Page was playing his Gretsch guitar. Whether Blackmore knew it or not, he represented everything Page fought against in serious rock music: theatre over authenticity, flash over feeling, performance over pure musical expression. Number 5, Eddie Van Halen. Landing at number 5 is a ride that shook the guitar world to its core. Eddie Van Halen, the Dutch-American virtuoso who revolutionized rock guitar with his finger-tapping technique, reportedly became one of Jimmy Page's most bitter professional enemies during the late 1970s guitar revolution. Music. The feud allegedly ignited after Van Halen's explosive debut album in 1978 sent shockwaves through the rock's establishment. According to Guitar World editor Brad Tolinsky, Page reportedly told colleagues at a London pub, "Anyone can learn parlour tricks. Real guitar playing comes from the heart, not from showing off like a circus performer." The dismissive comment allegedly reached Eddie's ears within weeks. It was actually Jimmy Page who inspired me to do the funny stuff that I do on my guitar, which is, what infuriated Page wasn't just Eddie's innovative tapping technique, but what it represented for guitar music's future. While Page had built his reputation on bluesy soul and mystical atmosphere, Van Halen was achieving massive success with what Page reportedly called athletic guitar playing. Technical wizardry that in Page's traditionalist view sacrificed emotion for flash. There's a difference between playing guitar and playing with a guitar, Page allegedly told a backstage interviewer in 1979 without mentioning names. But industry veterans knew exactly who he meant. The tension reportedly came to a head at a Los Angeles recording studio in 1980, where witnesses claimed Page abruptly ended a conversation when someone mentioned Van Halen's groundbreaking Eruption solo, allegedly snapping, "I've heard enough about bedroom noodling for one lifetime." Eddie, for his part, always spoke respectfully of Page's influence, calling him a master in multiple interviews. But the damage was done. Page had apparently written off the future of guitar as nothing more than technical masturbation. Number 4 is Yngwie Malmsteen. Crashing in at number 4 is perhaps the most explosive personality clash on our list. Yngwie Malmsteen, the Swedish neoclassical metal virtuoso with an ego as massive as his guitar solos, reportedly drove Jimmy Page to absolute fury. Music, with his Baroque influence shredding and outrageous public statements. "I love Jimmy Page, but Hrix is little dear to my heart." The animosity allegedly began in the mid-1980s, when Malmsteen burst onto the scene claiming to be the greatest guitarist who ever lived. According to Metal Hammer journalist Malcolm Dome, Page reportedly told friends at a charity event, "This Swedish peacock thinks Bach wrote power chords. The man has confused technique with music itself." The scathing assessment allegedly circulated through European music circles like wildfire. What pushed Page over the edge wasn't just Yngwie's technical prowess, but his complete dismissal of blues-based rock tradition. While Page had spent years perfecting the art of dynamic songwriting, Malmsteen was achieving cult status with what Page reportedly called classical music rape. Elaborate compositions that, in Page's view, turned guitar into a masturbatory academic exercise. "Some people think more notes equals more music," Page allegedly told a Swedish journalist in 1987, clearly referencing Malmsteen's approach. "They're usually the same people who think louder equals better." The situation reportedly exploded at a guitar expo in 1988, where industry insiders claim Page walked out during Malmsteen's performance, allegedly telling security, "I don't need to watch someone practice scales for 20 minutes." Malmsteen, true to form, later dismissed Page's entire catalogue as primitive blues noodling. The Swedish maestro had apparently struck the one nerve that could turn rock's most mystical figure into its most vengeful critic. Number 3, Keith Richards. Sliding into number 3 is a feud that split British rock royalty down the middle. I have to turn my head until my Keith Richards, the immortal Rolling Stones guitarist, and Jimmy Parr's bitter rivalry reportedly stretched across decades. For me, musically, at the same time, Jimmy Page is one of the best guitar players I've ever known, and I fueled by professional jealousy, personal slights, and fundamentally different philosophies about rock and roll's soul. The bad blood allegedly started in the late 1960s, when both bands were climbing the charts simultaneously. According to Rolling Stone journalist Robert Greenfield, Page reportedly told studio engineers, "Keith thinks 5 chords make him Chuck Berry. The man wouldn't recognize a melody if it bit him on his weathered ass." Ian Stewart. Ian Stewart was with the Rolling Stones, and he used to play piano, and he's the brutal assessment allegedly reached Richards within days through London's tight-knit music scene. What made this feud particularly venomous was their competing claims to blues authenticity. While Page crafted elaborate arrangements and mystical atmospheres, Richards was achieving legendary status with what Page reportedly called 3-chord primitivism, stripped-down rock that, in Page's perfectionist view, mistook simplicity for profundity. "Anyone can bash out satisfaction," Page allegedly told NME in 1973. Though the quote was never officially published, real musicianship requires more than stumbling through the same riff for 50 years. The animosity reportedly reached nuclear levels during a 1975 backstage encounter at Madison Square Garden, where witnesses claim Richards deliberately ignored Page's extended hand, allegedly muttering, "I don't shake hands with thieves," a reference to Led Zeppelin's alleged appropriation of blues standards. Richards, never one to back down, later dismissed Page's entire approach as overproduced wankery. The two titans had apparently turned rock guitar into a war between raw authenticity and elaborate artistry, a battle with no possible winners. Number 2, Jimi Hendrix. Burning into number 2 is the most shocking revelation on our list, Jimi Hendrix. Yes, the guitar god himself allegedly became the target of Jimmy Page's deepest professional jealousy and resentment. Despite Hendrix's tragic death in 1970, cutting short what could have been rock's greatest rivalry. The tension reportedly began in 1967, when Hendrix exploded onto the London scene, immediately overshadowing Page's session work and early Yardbirds' success. According to rock historian Charles Hershey Murray, Page allegedly told close friends, "This American comes over here and suddenly everyone forgets who was playing guitar before he arrived. He's all flash and feedback. Where's the musicianship?" The bitter comment allegedly revealed Page's growing insecurity about his own place in rock history. What truly ate at Page was Hendrix's instant acclaim and innovative approach. While Page had been methodically building his reputation through technical precision and blues mastery, Hendrix achieved legendary status with what Page reportedly called controlled chaos, a style that, in Page's view, prioritized showmanship over musical substance. Some people think breaking guitars makes you a genius, Page allegedly told a journalist in 1969, clearly referencing Hendrix's destructive stage antics. Real musicians don't need pyrotechnics. The rivalry reportedly turned personal when both guitarists were linked to the same London music scene figures. Industry insiders claim Page became increasingly paranoid that Hendrix was deliberately upstaging him, allegedly telling bandmates he's trying to make everyone forget there were guitarists before him. Even after Hendrix's death, Page allegedly couldn't let go of the jealousy, reportedly dismissing Hendrix's legacy as overrated theatre in private conversations. The dead guitar hero had apparently wounded Page's ego beyond repair. Number 1, Eric Clapton. Taking the top spot in our countdown is the ultimate British blues betrayal. Eric Clapton. Music. The man once called God by his fans allegedly became Jimmy Page's most hated rival through a combination of professional competition, personal betrayals, and what Page reportedly saw as shameless credit stealing that lasted for decades. The feud's roots allegedly trace back to the mid-1960s London blues scene, where both guitarists were competing for the same session work and band opportunities. According to music journalist Chris Welch, Page reportedly told studio musicians, "Eric plays the same 3 blues licks and everyone calls him a god. I suppose mediocrity sells better than innovation." The devastating assessment allegedly spread through London's tight-knit music community like wildfire. The breaking point reportedly came when Clapton recruited drummer Jim Gordon, who had been collaborating with Page on session work. Sources claim Page felt personally betrayed, allegedly telling confidants, "Eric builds his career on other people's talent because he doesn't have enough of his own." The animosity reached nuclear levels during the 1970s, when both men achieved superstar status. Industry veterans claim Page became obsessed with proving his superiority over Clapton, allegedly saying at a private party, "The difference between Eric and me is that I create music. He just copies it louder." The final nail in the coffin reportedly came when Clapton publicly praised blues legends while subtly dismissing Led Zeppelin's heavier approach. Page allegedly responded by calling Clapton a blues museum curator who had never written an original idea in his life. This wasn't just musical rivalry. It was personal warfare disguised as artistic difference. And there you have it. The 6 guitarists who reportedly made Jimmy Page see red. Which feud shocked you most? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more rock rivalries that'll blow your mind.